BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to another conversation about your Kundalini awakening system or equation. And I'd like to welcome you from Santa Rosa, where I have not been for so long, and it's a pleasure to be back. Let me tell you, Lasha is sitting on my left in the sacred feminine spot, where, of course, she should be. And we have a special guest star here, Amelia Santara is joining us 7,000 miles away from her home. And as she has been joining us, since she came out here before the seminar, and Rosemary, her and myself drove up to lovely Port Townsend and had an excellent seminar. And it looks like we have Cole Kundalini, we have A.A. Tanya, two guests. We have Mr. Fashji himself. And I'd like to welcome everybody to this conversation, and I'd like to welcome Santara, as I always do.
Hi, Chrism. It's really great to be sitting here in the chair next to you and saying hi to everybody on this Wednesday. I'll begin as I normally do, with letting you know where you can go if you want to make a donation. So just go to the website www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com, and on the upper right hand corner you will see that donate button, and just press that and it's easy peasy after that. As I always say to you every week, there is no pressure to donate, yet donations are very gratefully received. So if you're in a position to donate, please feel free to do so, and it is very, very helpful. So that's my donation, or my introduction, and it's a pleasure to be here in the ashram. As you say, I'm looking at Lasha sitting on the chair in the ashram room, and it's a pleasure to be here.
And it is definitely a pleasure to have you here. As you know, and as I hope you know, that KAS Systems is blessed to have this program that you and your husband, John O'Connor, bring out from the city of Cork in the country of Ireland, the Irish Republic. So thank you to you and John and your family as well, Amelia. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Chrism. And let me just say hi to John. Hi, John. And hi to Helena, if she's listening. And to everybody in Ireland and Europe. Hi to Manisha and just everybody. Heli, everybody that's there.
Yes, and I second that. I second hello to everybody in Europe, South America, North America, Asia, Australia, and Africa. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for listening in the archives as well. Today's topic, I'm going to bring it a little closer to home today, simply because of the way the Kundalini can manifest with regards to dermal eruptions. And you can get, and I've mentioned this in other programs, but I think it bears repeating. A person can have a form of what looks like psoriasis or dermatitis come up in and upon the person's skin. This level of detox can be sunk deep into the skin, into the third dermal layer, so that it feels as if there's like a hard bubble inside of the skin, and that it's working its way up. The skin will tighten. The skin will it will definitely respond. This can be very itchy. This can be very uncomfortable. And this can be very, very short-lived. I will counsel a person not to put a lot of goop or creams or go to the doctor and have them inject cortisone or cortisols or any of those things. This is a Kundalini detox mechanism. This is a Kundalini detoxification mechanism, and it's using your skin if other organs in your body aren't as available as perhaps they should be, such as your liver. If your liver is over inundated with toxins or elements that are damaging to the body, well, you're going to have a problem with that. And so, of course, using the next best thing to an overloaded liver, it's going to come out the skin. It's going to come out the skin. And I just want you to understand that this is normal. This is not anything to be afraid of. Now I will, suggest that you do a liver cleanse. Do something that will allow the pressure to be taken off of the liver. Use that silymarin or silymarin, which is the blessed thistle. I understand that they're using that in the emergency rooms in Europe as a way to counteract liver toxicity due to mushroom poisoning. People go out there in the hills and they pick the wrong mushroom, they eat it, and they automatically go into an emergency scenario with their liver, and this silymarin is quite capable at saving someone's life for ingesting mushrooms. For those of you that know me well, you know that I have a very, very strong bias against consuming mushrooms. But that's just me. I know that many, many people enjoy mushrooms, but keep a bottle of that silymarin on hand just in case. And I would like to bring Santara on board with this because she is. Well, I'll let her explain to you what is happening with her.
Well, I'm having definitely a skin eruption of a Kundalini origin on my skin. I don't suffer from skin issues. I get the occasional pimple on my face, and it's really very occasional. I don't have bad skin. I never, ever, ever suffered from any dermatitis or psoriasis or any of these conditions of any kind. I get occasional pimples on my head. I've always had that since my Kundalini awakened. I would get some pimples on my head that would come and then vanish within a couple of hours. And that's something that I'm very, very used to. However, I arrived to San Francisco a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, and I can't remember exactly when it started. I think it might even have begun as I was arriving. I became aware of what felt bigger than a pimple under my skin, like a boil, and I smiled to myself because I remembered having a bit of a pimple the last time I came here, and Chrism would be saying to me, burst it, and I'd say, no, and I've this horrible old boil for ages. So the thing is, I was aware of it and wondering when would it come to a head, but that's not what happened. It began to spread, and I began to get kind of bumps underneath my skin, and then it spread on my cheeks, and it spread up near my eyes, and by the time we got up to Port Townsend, to me it was really horrible. It looked awful. And not only that, but it also was I was quite sore and itchy insofar as my skin was being pulled, and it was very swollen and sore and hot, and it looked awful. And so that brought up a lot of things for me. Chrism told me that, it was a detox, and my experience has been in the last few months that I haven't been eating well. I've been eating good food, but I've also been eating a lot of rubbish, a lot of sugar, a lot of carbs, stuff that really is not good. And
why would you be consuming these foods?
Because my excuse is that I was under stress. There's been a lot of things happening in my life since last September, October, since we moved back from Kerry. A lot of things going on with the house, a lot of different things going on. And then the new year came around, and a lot of things going on with my Kundalini, extreme bliss, and a lot of phenomena, a lot of detoxing as well for me, emotional detox and things. And when I would eat the rubbish, and the rubbish would be, let's say, biscuits or chocolate, I didn't get a kickback from the Kundalini. It didn't feel like it was a bad thing, you know. In other words, she didn't let me know in obvious ways that she has done before that this was not okay. And so I kind of took that as oh, it's okay, you know, my ego did. And I continued to eat, and I put on a lot of weight, and I was eating a lot of rubbish. So, yeah, when I got here and Chrism said about detoxing, you know, and that I had put a lot of strain on the liver and that I needed to do a liver detox, I thought, yeah, that makes sense. My diet has been really, really bad. However, there were other things that arose for me. I mean, leaving aside the discomfort, and it really is painful. I'm going to whine here now, but it is painful and it's sore, and I'm very swollen. My eyes are puffy. I mean, the guys that met me in Port Townsend, it's worse, guys. I'm now very puffy and sore and swollen, and it's spread as well down around my neck. But as well as that discomfort, my ego really, honestly, took a very hard hit, because I was meeting people for the first time. I had never met, you know, say Elizabeth before. I hadn't met Rosemary before, and other people. And I was really looking forward to that. And we know each other through the groups, and, you know, we know each other through photographs. And here I was coming with this on my face. And I was embarrassed, and I was, you know, I knew I wasn't going to be myself, look like myself. And, that was a big cringe factor for me. Not only that, but I was going to be going to these talks that were going on for the week before the seminar, meeting new people for the first time. And that, again, was really, really difficult for my ego. It's not, and I would say, you know, I'm not that attached to my looks. They just are as they are. I'm not big into, you know, makeup and things, so I would have thought I'm not big into my looks. But the thing is, I probably am, because I cringed and I was embarrassed, and I really did not. I found it difficult. It was a big surrender for me to be able to do that without trying to camouflage what was happening.
And did you try to hide your face or wear humongous sunglasses so people, you know, anything like that happen?
No, I did not. I certainly, well, I did buy glasses, but that wasn't why. I definitely left my hair down, because I thought that covered it better, whereas I would tie my hair up more. So yes.
And did you not feel like, you know, dressing up because, oh my gosh, I don't want people to look at me?
See, this isn't fair, because he knows the answers to these questions. Yes. For example, I brought one or two pretty dresses that I had intended wearing for the talks, you know. And I thought, oh, there's no way I can wear them, because there was nice heels and shoes and the dresses looked pretty. And then my face looked awful. And so I didn't want attention in any way to myself. So, yeah, I did. And
so what is this teaching you on a Kundalini level?
It's teaching me a lot of things. It's teaching me a lot about my ego and how important, you know, I actually place how I look, and what that says about me to people out there. It's also teaching me about tolerance, not just for, you know, tolerance for what's going on, because I got very impatient sometimes with what was going on. I'm saying I'm surrendering, but I want it done now. Can this please be over? I've done enough. This is the third week. You know?
Well, right. And then you got to go back and you want to look at what was happening that would have encouraged this type of an ego, a lesson to be given, but also a type of health condition to be given as well. And that goes back to what you were doing in Ireland, you know, in the previous year before you came out here, and that was the consuming of rubbish, the lack of exercise, the harboring of worries and anxieties and fears. I know that you and your husband have been going through a lot of house hunting, you know, and the way it's done in Ireland, evidently you can get right on up to signing a contract of ownership, and then right at the last minute they can demand more money, and that puts the whole thing back to square one. Or I mean, you put a bid on, I think, 2 different houses, 2 different places, things like that.
Yeah, well, there was various things that happened. Yeah.
And thank God you've landed on one that I think is going to be really, really nice. She'll be living in a place called Cove. She'll be living in a cove, basically, in a business district, and that her house will have a bakery in it. How cool is that? So Kundalini bread, everybody. Kundalini sourdough with nuts, pumpkin seeds, the whole bit coming out of Amelia's place in Cove, Ireland. Come one, come all. But you were eating so much bad food, bad toxic food, GMO food, non-organic food, and let's face it, you're probably having a few pints on the side. Come on.
Always with the pints.
Pints and toilets, that's what they're known for.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But
I mean this is very true, particularly in the last 6 months. Not so much in the 6 months previously, to be honest.
And so some of the students may be asking, well, God, you know, here is Santara, the ultimate Kundalini angel, and how could she have fallen so far into the detritus of deleterious dietary intake, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, these are the questionable comforts. Let that be now known.
So, you know, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead, please.
All right, so I just want people to know that everybody's ego has its agenda with the individual that it's inhabiting. And you can be, you know, saint whatever. I mean, Ramakrishna was staying here, and he was being helped to stay here by eating chocolates or doing things of basically an ego-based nature in order to find a way to ground himself so that he just didn't die and leave. But I don't think that's the case with Amelia. I think the case with Amelia is she had urges, and she responded to the urges the way she would have responded to the urges a while ago. But there's another tangent to this that I think is really, really important for everybody to understand. She had to have this condition, so this condition could be taught about from an authentic, first-hand way. She had to be able to have these marbles of toxin under her skin pushing their way up, and out. She had to have this. You can't just sit there and teach about it and not have it. It's like, oh, yeah, well, it feels like fluid-filled marbles under the skin pushing their way to the surface. You know, sometimes it's necessary within a Kundalini context to come at it from an authentic perspective. And right now, you have that authentic perspective. I have had aspects of this happen. I haven't had it happen on my face or on my neck or on my back or, you know, anything like that. I've had it happen on my hands, strictly my hands, maybe a few other places along the body. But this is very, very important for people to understand. What you eat counts. Stay away from the GMO. Stay away from the Stay away from the GMO. Stay away from the conventionally grown crops and products, including wheat. You know, wheat has positive aspects to itself, but it also has some very, very negative qualities as well. It's what's that word I'm looking for? It tends to,
Well, it forms mucus.
Well,
I mean, it's yucky. It clogs up the system. Is that what you mean?
no, it can be very abrasive to the body. It can cause your body to swell. It can cause, there are some deleterious aspects to it. If you're going to eat wheat, eat the spelt. Spelt is handled by the body in a very, very different way than, say, your normal, U.S. wheat-grown crop, and sprayed with everything Monsanto wants to spray on it, which, of course, is not going to be handled well by your body, which is partly the whole purpose. So stay away from conventionally grown foods. Get into the organics. Grow your own food. I know we're not used to working that field. We're not used to working that garden. We're not used to getting out there and doing these things. But do it anyway. Do it anyway. And let yourself have the Kundalini in a clean and pure vessel of grace, which typically, I think, for the most part, Amelia has had, but this last year she has not had. She has not kept up her discipline. She has not kept up the practice that I told her to do. She's 7,000 miles away from me, and, she's like thinking, well, okay, I'll just do this. And he won't know. He won't know. Now, she's shaking her head, and I'm going to give her a chance to respond. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, well, there's elements of that are true, and he's slightly over-exaggerating to make a point, I feel. I do actually follow up the practice I've given for the most part, except recently. Excuses. Yeah, and there was a time, I'm smiling at what you were saying about the guy, because I did use the excuse, because I've had a huge amount of phenomena since February, March. I was using the excuse that I needed it to ground me, because I really was. But I know that wasn't true. Again, that was an ego response. But yeah, I mean, everything that you're saying is absolutely true. Absolutely.
Well, so
true.
we got, all of us, both of us here. I mean, we have to touch on the idea, on the fact of the ego incorporating itself into our daily lives, and how we respond to the ego desires, how we respond to the ego corruptions. So, for instance, if you're in a very, very strong Kundalini position right now, for those of you that are listening now or those listening in the archives, if you're in a very, very strong Kundalini position, and I know Mr. Fast G is, and I know Miss Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez is, and I know that Cole is possibly there, and Tanya too, if it's the same Tanya I'm thinking of. If you're in a very strong position right now within the Kundalini, i.e. you're having a lot of phenomena, you're having a lot of bliss, you're having some very, very divine downloads that are happening, you need to be very, very, very conscious of how your ego is insinuating itself into that conversation between you and your Kundalini. Many of you are being given fairly strong directives, and this is going to go counter to what your ego wants. For instance, we're used to having the 3 meals a day here in the West, in the United States, and I think also in Europe as well. We got those 3 square meals as they're called out here in the West. We have our breakfast, we have our lunch, and we have our dinner, and then we have whatever we want to snack on in between. So in reality, rather than just 3 meals, we're probably having closer to 6. If you count all the snacking that goes on. And the situation is this. The Kundalini is going to take away your appetite, and you're going to think something's wrong. You're going to think something's drastically wrong, something's amiss, I should be doing right now, I should be eating something right now. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. I should be eating food. And not only should I be eating food, it should be food that I like, that tastes good. I don't know if any of you have gone to the restaurant. I've been on the road for the last few weeks, and we'll stop into a restaurant. We can't eat well because they don't have organic food. Since I am driving, I do need to keep my attention and my ability to navigate the roadways, in top condition, because I am carrying treasures like Centaur and Rosemary and other people. So it's very, very, very important to realize that you're not getting good food when you're on the road. You're not getting that good food. It's loaded with GMOs, loaded with chemicals, loaded with toxic pesticides. Okay, unless it specifically says organic, then you can be fairly sure that it's loaded with all the deleterious dietary consumables that are available to society right now. And it's just so strange that, well, I can get into that later as far as why farmers are being conditioned to grow those things. It's all about, greed, basically. And so the other thing you want to look at, though, is even in today's language, as you go into a restaurant, and I've done that quite frequently lately, and they'll say, how does the food taste? They're not saying, oh, is the food good? Because we know it's not good. The waitress or waiter will come up and say, how does it taste? Because really, it's all about taste. It's all about gratifying that ego. It's not about nutritious quality. You're not eating, Melba toast because that's, tastes good. And Melba toast is toast without butter, toast without some sort of a spread on it. It's all about taste. It's all about appeasing the ego. It's all about allowing that ego to determine how you're going to live your life, how you're going to even live your Kundalini life. How many of you right now are able and willing to sacrifice what you know to be good, what you know to be happy, what you know to be positive dietary consumables for the Kundalini, which is an unknown quality within you. It's a consciousness within you. It's not always talking to you the way you want to be you want to understand everything about everything that it wants to give to you. And if it's not saying that to you, if it's not satisfying the mental food that your ego wants, well, what is your ego going to do? It's going to go into resistance, just like Amelia's. We're surrounded by people that live their lives by virtue of their ego. This is the bulwark of society, is that the life is lived through through happiness, the want of gain and the want of being happy, and it's all about ego pleasures, ego complacency. It's all about that. We want to be full when we leave the table. We want to eat as much as we can eat until we're full. We want to have sex whenever we want to. We want to have strength and powerful performance in whatever thing that we want to do with ourselves. It's all about that, but it's not so much about discipline. It's not so much about working towards a certain thing. We're very much an instant gratification-based society. And it's very important for everybody to understand that within a Kundalini context, your ego is still going to be pushing for those qualities. And the Kundalini may just, exacerbate that amazingly by amplifying some of the issues. But on the other hand, she may also just take things away. So you won't have the hunger at the dinner time the way I was speaking of earlier. You won't have that hunger. But your ego is going, well, you should be hungry right now. You should be hungry. If you're not hungry, something's wrong. Something's not right. Well, even though I'm not feeling hungry right now, ego's saying, well, you really, Chrism, you should really be hungry right now. This is not right. So well, okay, I'll just have a little bit. I'll have something over here. Let's see. Maybe I'll have something over here, and maybe I'll have something over there. Oh, well, okay. And then there's something over. Okay, now just in case something was wrong, I've eaten, I've satisfied myself, and you've totally gone against what your Kundalini was communicating to you. Remember, Kundalini will not typically come to you as words. The divine goddess will not come to you and, oh, Chrism, eating that Danish or eating that cake or eating that whatever it is you're eating, whatever you can call that, my word. Never mind. Chrism, I took the hunger away from you for a reason. And the reason wasn't for you to push something into your gut, whether you were hungry or not. The reason was for you to begin to listen to the grace that I am within you. And to surrender to that grace. To say, hello, Lauren, I see you there. Lauren and Cole were at the seminar, and as well as Elizabeth, and so I just want to say hello, a special hello to all of them. I can see you on the chat group here. The Kundalini is, if she were to say in words, she would say things of that nature. What are you doing? It's not about gorging yourself until your intestines explode out of the sides of your body. Amelia's trying not to laugh.
My God. No, I'm listening to everything you're saying. I'm listening, but there are times when, yeah. It's interesting though, Chrism, because for many, many years the Kundalini did. I mean, I followed diets quite easily. And I'm realizing what has happened is that I just let all that go when I stopped being supported in that, or very, we say, directly guided by the Kundalini. She stepped back and said, I think, now you're on your own. And I was okay for a while, and then I wasn't.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, Amelia. I mean, when we're under the hard guidance of the Kundalini, when the Kundalini is basically saying, hey, you're not going to eat this, you are going to eat that, you're not going to have sex, you are going to have sex, you're not going to stay awake, you're going to go to sleep. Now you can't go to sleep, you're going to be staying up for a week. When the hard guidance backs off, and then you're given to live your life within a Kundalini responsible way, you will become, because you've had this for over 20 years now?
No. Not the actual awakened Kundalini, no. 8 years, is it?
8 years.
Yeah.
So you've had this for 8 years, and this is really, this is enough time to have this and to have it responsibly. You've learned through various lessons, personal lessons, how things work with the Kundalini, and, certainly since 2010 when you and I first met. And so, you bring up a really good point, Amelia, when you say that, the hard teachings, passed and now you're on your own. Well, you are on your own, but you aren't at the same time. You're on your own in the way that you're being given a test of your maturity and your discipline and your adherence to the protocols that the Kundalini agrees for you to have. Okay, you're on your own there. But you're just being tested. You've got to remember that Kundalini isn't really a time-oriented consciousness. It's not looking at its watch and going, oh, okay, she's got 3 more minutes before we kick in with something else. It's looking at you in a nowness that we can't even really relate to in a human way. But what will happen quite often is when you go so far off the dietary understandings that you know to be true and that you're teaching others to be true to as well, that when you go off of that wagon, so to speak, you fall off that dietary wagon, well, you're going to have amplified response. An amplified response would be something of a dermatitis nature, something of a psoriasis-based nature. But that is only one aspect of it. You've got to look at the multiple aspects of what the Kundalini is teaching to someone, say, going through what Amelia is going through right now. It's also informing you that your liver is a little bit too full of toxins, that as she cleans you out during the hard teaching, she's cleaning you out, she's purifying your chalice, the body that you are. You're becoming a very pure, angelic body. And when you start clogging that body, after it's been purified and you start clogging that body with these toxins, there's going to be some severe blowback. There's going to be some very severe blowback. And then another aspect of these multiple layered teachings is what it does to the ego. Because let's remember, it was the ego that caused this in the first place. It was the ego that kept telling Amelia, I need that Danish. Okay, maybe just this once I'll have the Danish. Oh, and then it turns into, well, maybe just these 20 times I'll have the Danish in 3 days.
Not exaggerating. You are not exaggerating. You are not exaggerating. And I need it because, I'm having such Kundalini phenomena.
Yeah. And so it's very, very important for you to realize that the purity of the body isn't just pure so that you can damage it again.
Yeah.
The body is purified because it needs to stay that way and it needs to grow that way. Your eating habits are going to change, but they're not going to change just so that you can change them back. Okay?
Yeah.
It's very important for people to realize this. You're not going through a process so that, you can take the benefit of the process and then just go ahead and reverse the process because it's convenient to your ego. For those of you that are having bliss, for those of you that are having, kriyas, for those of you that are having, active Kundalini phenomena upon you, even the downloads of information, you need to understand these facts. These are very, very real things. You don't get to go backwards without, having some fairly strong corrections. Amelia right now is having some very, very strong corrections. It's affecting her ego because her ego is the one that did this. It's affecting her looks because that's one of the key areas of ego expression is how we look, how we see ourselves and compare ourselves to others in society. Are we pretty? Are we ugly? Are we fat? Are we slim? Are we strong? Are we weak? Is our hair the right color? Is our hair the wrong color? Do we have hair? All of these things tie straight into the ego expression. Here we go. And Tanya is saying, very often after meditating, when I feel really weak with energy buzzing all over me, I get a real craving for chocolate. Now, I don't eat it as a rule because I've had problems with overeating in the past, but it feels like I just need that chocolate. Well, I would suggest that maybe you don't. Maybe it's that urge that is coming on to counterbalance the good that's being done. Now, when I do a seminar, I come out of that seminar ravenous. When I do a talk, I come out of that talk very, very, very hungry. But I don't fill it up with chocolate. I don't fill it up with popcorn. I don't fill it up with the junk food. Certainly not if I'm in an area where I can get some decent food. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I have to, I'm eating GMOs, which is so bad. I feel, Anyway, you really want to begin to change how you respond to the Kundalini when it brings its hunger upon you. Try to put good food into your system. Don't go backwards. Don't fall into ego expression because it's convenient or because it's known or because it's something that makes you happy or pleasurable or complacent. Look at what can occur. Have the experience. Do you need the experience of boils the size of marbles, a quarter inch under your skin? Do you need that? Do you need to have arthritic-like symptoms, which is another symptom of the same thing? Okay, Bashi's writing, we all tend to hijack our process. And Tanya says, thank you, this is really helpful. And I just want to thank you both for even writing in. We all do tend to hijack our process. Well, let's not do that anymore. Let's not hijack the process. Let's not try to hijack Kundalini with the ego. You put that ego aside. You sit that young child down. You say, sit here. be quiet, and learn. Because the ego can learn. It can learn very, very, very positive things. Remember, if you've listened to any of the other shows, the Huna religion, it splits the human psychology up into three areas. The Unihipili, which would be the ego, the Uhane, which would be the higher mental functioning self, and the Amakua, which would be the Kundalini. And the Unihipili wants to be an Uhane, and the Uhane wants to be an Amakua. And that is the direction of spiritual evolution within that system. And I cannot disagree with that. From a Kundalini standpoint, that stands out true and clear. True and clear. Okay? So it's very important for you to take hold of what you like to eat. So look at what you like to eat. Is it organic? Is it loaded with GMOs, whether you can see them or not? Are you able to read the package? I was talking with one of the private students that I Skype with today, and she's going, well, I'd like to put the aloe vera on. I said, yeah, go ahead, put your aloe vera on, not a problem. And I look at the aloe vera she's putting on because we're Skyping. I can see, she grabs the jar and she starts, putting it into her hand, and I can see, I see, that's not aloe vera. It's not aloe vera at all. It's tocopherols, vitamin E. It's retinol. It's all these different polydextrin. All these different ingredients that have absolutely nothing to do with aloe vera. But the reason that they can say, 99% pure aloe vera is because the tiny little fraction of this polymer-based liquid, the tiny fraction of it, the 1% of it that is actual aloe vera, well, that is 99% aloe vera. That 1% is a 99% fraction of aloe vera, and so that's how they can say it in big numbers, on the outside of the bottle, 99% aloe vera. It's like there's so not any truth in advertising at all. Just as far as aloe vera goes, if you can eat the aloe vera, then that's probably closer to purity. You get the organic lily of the desert aloe vera. Those are actual fillets of aloe vera, the aloe vera plant. That's what you would want to put on. Don't believe if you buy it from a drugstore, if you buy it from a hardware store, if you're buying it from a store that isn't, say, an organic outlet, then it probably only has a fraction of the ingredient that you're looking for. Okay, so realize that as well. What you're putting topically on your skin, like Amelia, she's going for the topical things because it's hurting the outer layer of her skin is the one that's feeling the pain. And she can feel the pain on the inner areas too, but the only thing you can get to really is the top. Unless you're going to go in with a needle, start injecting stuff and maybe, lancing those boils and whatnot. And I'm not going to suggest you do that. Certainly not under, 2 or 3 dermal layers. So the real key is to watch what it is you eat. Watch what it is you consume. Look at the cleansing that the Kundalini is giving you right now. The psychological cleansing, the emotional cleansing, the dietary cleansing, the physical area cleansing. Look at those cleansing applications she's giving you and don't try to reverse them because you're familiar with something else. Because you're familiar with what the ego has trained you over these number of years that you've had ego control. Now it's time to shift into a different level, a different expression, a different level of performance, a different level of understanding. You're becoming semi-divine, and semi-divinity requires different standards, different protocols, different behaviors, different dietary standards for you to have. No longer are you just Joe Blow on the street, even though you're not blowing your horn by having Kundalini. No longer are you just Joe Blow on the street going, oh, yeah, oh, let's go have a beer. Okay? This is not who you are anymore. And you need to understand that. And that goes with television, too. You don't just come home from work, sit down in front of the television, and just like go into an alpha state and zone. Now you might want to come home from work, do the 5 Tibetans, do your practice, and meditate. There's a huge difference. Let the stress of the workday fall away from you in meditation, rather than in front of the TV, where what God knows what's going into your mind as you enter an alpha state in front of the TV. What levels of programming are going into you. Let the Kundalini awakening equation within you trump any and all equations that the ego has programmed you to accept. Let Kundalini be that which leads your life now. I have another student, I keep telling this person, you need to surrender to the Kundalini, and you need to surrender to the teacher that the Kundalini has assigned you. And you're going to have to do these things that are different for you. It's trying to sculpt your life in a new way, an exciting way, and yes, in a way that is unknown to you. And I'm going to suggest the same thing to all of you. It's the Kunalini that is in charge now. That is the direction of evolution. That is the direction that your life needs to take. So eat organic, eat pure. Be as pure as you can possibly be in what you consume, what you take into your body, and Danishes are not it. Cake is not it, unless you can get some sort of organic cake. And I'll tell you what, you look at some of these. We have these stores in the States called Whole Foods, and they're sort of specialists in organic, but even though they offer conventional toxic GMO infused food, well, right next to it on the counter will be something organic, something maybe a little bit cleaner. Yeah, well, let me just put it this way. You really want to read what's in the ingredients package. You really want to read it, because they're not all true. Let's see, we have somebody else has posted here. Tanya says, I do eat organic and vegetarian. I have very low iron levels in my blood, and I don't know if I need to do anything about it. Well, you can. That's the problem with vegetarians is they miss out on some of the qualities of compact proteins and iron levels. But you can either supplement yourself into a greater level of iron, or you can eat spinach. Spinach has high iron levels. Some kales have high iron levels. You can do this if you just do a little research. Go on the web. Look at what is vegetarian that has a high iron level, and that can help you, Tanya. That can help you really come out. And you don't want to have a low iron. Low iron is going to be, that's a difficult scenario. So, and because you are vegetarian is not a natural vector of dietary intake for a primate. Primates are typically they're omnivores. They're not vegetarian. And so you're kind of going outside of what the primate body is looking at. So just supplement or eat the vegetables that have, a strong iron content to them. And don't overdo it. We're looking at balance. We're not looking at drowning yourself in foods that have iron. But I know that spinach has a lot of iron, and kale has a lot of iron, and Amelia, who is also a vegetarian sitting here, she also agrees with that. So
nuts and there's things like broccoli has iron as well.
Yeah, nuts and broccoli and spinach and kale. Do this and introduce it, and do it organically. Do it organically and really look. I mean, they're not letting them label anything in the States right now that says GMO because they're criminals and crooks and they're corrupted by greed. And these farmers, they just want as much tonnage per acre, and they don't care what's in it. As long as they get paid per ton, they're a happy camper, and they go out and they can eat another farmer's GMO, insecticide infused, pesticide ridden food crop, such as wheat or soybeans or corn. Look at your corn. Make sure your corn is organic. That means GMO free in some places, not everywhere. Okay, so this is very, very important for you to understand. But also, let's just take it right beyond the whole dietary thing. And what kind of a mental diet are you partaking of? Are you watching, episodes of Gilligan's Island over and over and over and over? Now, except they have good character studies there, but what are you putting into your mind? What are you reading? What are you reading on the web? What are you watching on the tube? What are you watching, and why are you watching it? Look at are you partaking of an organic mental dietary fare? Are you taking of an organic and beautiful emotional fare? What are you doing with the other bodies of expression, and how are you feeding them? Are you feeding them with forgiveness? Are you feeding them with tolerance? Are you feeding them with personal discipline? Are you feeding them with honesty and truth? Are you feeding them with compassion? Are you feeding them with service to others? How are you feeding your other bodies of expression within a Kundalini context? How are you eating all 5 of the bodies? How are you eating in the way you think, in the way you feel, in the way you give, in the way you receive, how are you doing this? Kundalini is driving you towards areas of purity and cleanliness, and you live in an area in a world that is very, very impure and very, very unclean from a Kundalini standpoint. What are you doing? Are you taking every day as a day to honor the Kundalini? Are you getting up in bed and going, I will honor my Kundalini today in such and such a way? I will be honest and truthful and tolerant and helpful and compassionate and forgiving. Okay? I will eat foods that are organic and that are clean, that don't have GMOs in them. I will feed my body the best possible food I can possibly feed it. I will exercise my body. I will work in the dirt. I will work outside. I will do the push-ups. I will do the walking. I will do the jogging. I will do the climbing. I will do the stuff that I need to do. And I will do it in an area that has clean air. Not the mold-ridden, bad filtration air that the typical gym has. They're not going in every week and changing those filters and the airflow, the HVAC. You got to look beyond the normal. You got to look beyond the surface. Really, really, really pay attention to your body, your awareness. If you're hearing these words, then it's because the Kundalini wants you to hear these words. So listen to them, and listen to them well. Take them seriously. Take them literally. If you have a question, or you would like to participate in this program, I would like to give you the call-in numbers. The number is 347-934-0026. That's a United States area code, 347-934-0026. I would like to welcome somebody here. I have no idea who this is, but I'm going to just go ahead and jump them on. Hello, person. How are you? Yes, that would be you. 347-761-9249. And I guess I'll just have you listen there. I guess you don't know that I'm talking to you. It's weird, but there we go. And we have Miss Eileen. I'd like to welcome Eileen, and I'd like to welcome 661. So we're going to bring the 661 area code up. And because I don't know this entire... There we go. Are you listening? Well, maybe not. Yeah, go ahead. I'm just going to go into these rooms, and I think I see Rosemary here. Hello, Rosemary.
Hello there, Chrism.
How are you?
Happy Wednesday to you.
And to you, my dear. And I'd like to remind everybody who is from the Minnesota Kundalini community that we do have a meeting tomorrow. And Rosemary, if you can go ahead and make that announcement. Or not. And Rosemary, Rosemary, go ahead. Wait, do it all over. Rosemary, stop, please. Now start from the beginning and please make that announcement. Thank you.
Our meeting tomorrow is 7 to 8:30 our time. Phone meeting, and Chrism will be with us. And Amelia also.
Right. So 7:30, you say?
7 to 8:30.
7 to 8:30, so that anybody in the Minnesota Twin Cities area, give Rosemary a call if you have questions about this. Her number is 651-452-3161. Is that correct?
That's correct. And also I can add from our seminars from St. Louis and Florida and South California. And we have Elizabeth also. I think she's going to be on tomorrow with us.
Oh, so, sweet.
It just is adjusting the time to yours, comparison to Central Time.
Understood. Thank you, my dear. How have you been readjusting to being back at the house after being at the ashram for 2 months?
Well, yes. I'm taking it slowly so I can savor what I have, and every so often something will come up and pull the rug out from under me. But I think about our time together, and some things I know what you would say in there, and it's an amazing experience being there and then being back home again, and it is.
Well,
so
I just want to say that you left a beautiful, beautiful fingerprint on everything here, my dear.
Oh, that's kind. Thank you.
And I'm going to put you into the blue, and I believe that Cole is asking, do you have any book suggestions related to spiritual truths? And really, Cole, what I'm going to suggest you do, and anybody here who is asking to do, is I'm going to ask you to go to Kundalini Awakening Systems 1.com. That's the number 1.com. I'm also going to ask you to go to Kundalini chrismkundalini.com as well, and to read those spiritual truths. I really hesitate to direct you to a book that doesn't give you what is coming straight from the Kundalini in me to you. The reason being is that I haven't found anybody, and I've looked, I've searched. Nobody is really dealing with Kundalini on this level. Nobody is really doing this. I mean, people are, they're looking at my videos and they're trying to copy them and to take my information and make it their information. Which, as long as the information is clean, I'm happy with that. I don't care. But as far as a book goes, these are still being written. Julia and I are working on it. As I have to connect a bank account to a PayPal account to give it to Amazon, and then the first book will be published, and that's coming through. And those will have very, very, very specific spiritual truths to it, Cole Kundalini. And so I just want to welcome you to that book, and just have a little bit more patience. And now that I'm back, I can really get back to work with this. And I thank you for your question. So if anybody on the chat room, any of the guests 1232, 1269, 1287, 1416, Mary Jean, or anybody, if anybody has a question, feel free to write it here in the chat room. I'm looking at it right now. And, yes. I'm going to bring Brooke on. Hi, Brooke.
Hi.
How the heck are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for asking. I was referencing you with regards to that feeling that you need to eat, but you don't have the hunger, right? Do you still have that?
I love today. I was listening. This has been great. That totally related to that. We were just having that conversation, I think.
Yeah. And so has that extended itself into days experience as well, or do you have your appetite back? Is it a normal appetite that you're used to have?
No, I do not have it back, and I've had this all along, on and off, but just to speak with you about it has been, and even listening to today, it's just clarified. But, I was feeling yesterday that I needed to eat because I hadn't eaten. And, I appreciate what Santara was saying about the ego, because what happens with me when I don't eat is I get so skinny, as most people would, but I get so skinny, and my ego just does not like that at all. So what I was thinking yesterday was I have to eat. I need to eat something. And it was just total ego stuff. I wasn't really hungry, and nothing was really sounding good. So what I ended up doing was just having a light bowl of, kefir and fruit, and that was it. And it was so fulfilling, and it was so perfect. I didn't need anything else the whole rest of the day. And there's been the same thing for today as well. So we'll see how it goes. And I'm shedding the pounds, but, this is the way it is.
Well, yeah, and speaking of shedding the pounds, I mean, I've gone to certain places that the Kundalini's been at a high, shall we say, RPM with, and I've lost up to 30 pounds in a week. And, it's just not, because I'm not, I've never had that the fat, slender psychology with me that way. It never really bothered me, but I could see if you did have that psychology, it would be something that could be quite tremendously disruptive to personal validation and self-image. You know what I'm saying?
But also, it is all of that, and also it's like, I'm not overweight per se. I don't have a lot of extra pounds to shed. So this is just unusual for me, and my mind goes, why would the Kundalini not want me to eat? So I start,
maybe it's not so much a weight issue. Maybe it's a burning of fats that have toxic elements in it, and allowing that liver to cleanse the toxic elements that the burning, lipidosis, right? The body lives just off the fat of the person, and by living off of that fat, it's also metabolizing that fat and maybe some of the toxins that have created that fat in the first place. I guess like different forms of wheat or different forms of sugar, that will go into the system and cause like a toxic fat load, right?
Right. Yeah.
And where does it also fit in with your self-discipline and the discipline that says, I'm not hungry, therefore I shouldn't eat, but I really feel like eating because this is when I usually eat?
Well, there you go. You have this whole production around eating and food and going to get it, and and what I saw with myself was that a lot of that was all ego driven or ambition around from the ego. So
it's so true. You bring up something very, very important that I haven't touched on yet. So I want to thank you for that. Is the big production around food? The big production. It's like, okay, and the silverware's got to be absolutely straight, and the coffee cup has to be at the 5 o'clock angle. You can see that I've worked in the food industry.
Hotels.
Yeah.
That's hotel talk. I know that talk.
The restaurant experience, and it's just got to be perfect and delectable, and as I mentioned before, it has to taste good, because if it doesn't taste good, then it's not good.
Yeah, and what I noticed is.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say that once the production is not there, you sort of have all this space. So you're not doing the production because it's not needed. You don't need to go do all this, surrounding this whole thing about eating. And so I realized that I had so much more space to focus my meditation and my devotion and my thoughts on the Kundalini, basically. So it just left me with more space, is what I noticed. Production is a distraction. The production is a distraction.
The production is the distraction, and the real test of that is to be able to go into a good organic restaurant like Amelia and I did the other day at East West here in Santa Rosa, good organic food, and not buy into the production.
Mm-hmm.
Not buy into the production. And Lauren, I just want you to know, I'm going to get to that in just a second here. Not buy into the production and not buy into the expected appreciation. Okay? Look at it as really good, wholesome food, for sure. And try to separate the ego expectation from it. And so I want to thank you, Brooke, for coming on and having the courage to talk about you and your process. And I really, really do look forward to seeing you out here in Santa Rosa soon. And it's just a blessing to have you on board here, my dear.
Thank you. See you
All
guys.
right, I'm going to put you in the blue zone, and I'm going to answer your question, Mr. Lauren. And Mr. Lauren asked a question: any suggestion for someone having EMF sensitivity issues? If you cannot escape into the wilderness, luckily it's not me. Well, the first thing that I'm going to suggest is you stop using Bluetooth. Bluetooth technology at this point can be very, very, very hurtful, and I mean it hurts after a while. I mean you're going to you'll start feeling a headache load coming on, and then your body will command your hands to automatically rip those headphones off of your head, or that earplug out of your ear, or away from that the EMF emitter. So that's number one. Get the Bluetooth out of the system. Also, if you have a router and you're having EMF issues, turn the router off. And if you can't turn the router off in the day, turn it off at nighttime when nobody's using it. Turn the router off. They turn off, by the way. They do. Now, I know it's not you, Lauren White, because I know that a router can be turned off. Because you're an electrical engineer, and you're a very special person because you understand electrical scenarios. But as far as living in a city and not being able to get away from EMF, it is so pervasive in cities. You cannot get away from it in a city. It is wrapped in layer after layer after layer after layer after layer of EMF. I don't even think that you could put a steel bowl over your head to keep it out, because it'll still be going into every other orifice and activity of the body. So take a bus to a national park, away from a freeway, because all the freeways have EMF on them as well. And which, at least out here in California and Oregon and Washington and Idaho, because we just traveled those areas. And I was able to get online pretty much the whole time. Am I right, Amelia?
You are indeed everywhere, Chrism. Except the canyons.
Except the canyons. So there you go. No. That's a good. If you can get into a canyon, like we couldn't get online in the Snake River Canyon, and we couldn't get online very well in the Columbian Gorge along the border of Washington and Oregon. We couldn't get online in the Snake River Canyon. So if you have high canyon walls on either side, you're going to be EMF free. And electromagnetic frequency is what EMF stands for. But I don't know, Lauren, if you're talking about the EMF that comes from, say, your desktop computer, that tower, that typically they're calling a tower now, or how you're phrasing that. Is it just Wi-Fi that you want to get away from, or is it a big computer type of tower setup that you want to get away from? Maybe you can write again and let me know what you're referring to as far as EMF. If it's just EMF coming off of a computer, well, you just turn the computer off. Okay. EMF sensitivity, as I'm understanding it, you feel it in your head. Matter of fact, I'm feeling it right now, and I'm going to turn this little phone off because it just irritates the heck out of me. I'm finding that I can't do Bluetooth anymore.
Is that the same, Chrism, as the big high, the high wires, those big...
Ask the question again?
Is that the same thing you're speaking of, that you get this emission from those tall electrical...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Amelia and I haven't posted the video yet, but it has to do with Kundalini and the environment, and we went into a detailed kind of a expose of the horrible, horrible, horrible logging practices that are taking place in Washington, Alaska, Idaho, and Oregon, and California. And we went. The Kundalini led us up to a place called the Hobo Cedar Grove at a top one of the mountains in Idaho, and right there at the Cedar Grove, there are these high tension wires. And you could literally hear the electricity going, yeah, and it's just sparking and just like, whoa, it's just massive amounts of EMF coming off of these wires. And if you have a home next to these high tension wires, certainly here in California, they have noticed clusters of cancer coming from people that live under these high wires, these high voltage wires. And, of course, the government's denying that that's the case. The doctors can't really deny it, except that they will deny it because the government, they want to stay in good with the government. But, yeah, if you have a home under them, I'd say start shopping for another home. Let's see. I think Lauren White is still typing here, and so we'll just go ahead and wait for Lauren to get that done. Do take into account. Here we go. Lauren White says, I don't have the details. Sounds like it's a cell phone issue. Could be the Bluetooth problem. But also, thank you, Lauren. Putting a cell phone, which is it's a transceiver, and maybe Lauren can help me with the terminology here. It produces a signal that it pushes out into the satellite or to the tower that it's nearest. So if you have a transceiver, the cell phone signal will go straight through your brain. And if you're holding that iPhone 6 Plus right next to your head, that cell phone signal is frying your brain. Because your brain isn't designed to handle that level or that type of signal going through it. It's a much finer instrument than any of the cell phones out there right now. So I always suggest that you put the cell phone on speakerphone, and if you have to, go ahead and plug in a hardline set of earbuds or earplugs or headphones, whatever. I just don't use the Bluetooth. Do not use the Bluetooth. Tanya says, I can't use phones at all, Lauren. My whole body just rejects them. And this is absolutely true. I totally agree with Tanya. If you can do without a cell phone, do without a cell phone. My Kundalini allows me to use this iPhone 6 Plus, but I tell you, the most used feature on that is the feature that makes it talk through the speaker on the phone. It's not often you'll see me with that thing sticking up next to my head. I won't recommend it for anybody who's listening to this broadcast. Okay? And I know, all the cell phone companies, because they want to escape all of these lawsuits that are probably going to happen in the next 10 years. The country of Sweden, did a very clear study showing tumors growing in the brains of people that had, fairly deep exposure to cell phone signal. Now, those were the analog signals, I think, that they were doing back then before the digital came through. But I'm fairly certain that the digital will do exactly the same thing. Okay, exactly the same thing. So don't stick that cell phone up next to your head. Put the speakerphone on. Get some earbuds going. Get some sort of a device that takes and redirects the signal away from you. Now, I know, like I have this iPhone off right now, but I have this computer on. And bye, Francine. Have a good one. We have the Wi-Fi here, and so I'm getting Wi-Fi blasting through my head here. I'm getting the computer Wi-Fi blasting through my head. I'm getting Amelia's Wi-Fi from her iPad blasting through my head, and she's got the same thing going on here as well. To some degree, if you're going to live in society, well, guess what? If you're going to live in society, you're going to be how do I say it? You're going to partake of society. You're going to partake of the ills of society as well. You're definitely going to partake of the ills of society at the same time that you partake of the benefits of society. And so it's very important for you to realize that, but you can minimize these risks. As I said, you don't have to have the cell phone plastered up next to your head. You don't have to have that Bluetooth device plastered up next to your head. You don't have to have the Wi-Fi router on 24/7. It has an off switch. When you get up, you'll turn that Wi-Fi signal on, and all your emails will be downloaded right then, right there. Hello. You don't have to sleep with these things on. And I will recommend that you don't. I want to apologize for those of you who are getting bumped off. I know that Elizabeth's getting bumped off, and I think Lauren, you might be getting bumped off. I'd like to say hello to Matthew Collins. Hello, Matthew. Nice to see you here. And to getting back to it, I'd like to say hello to Ask Dr. MC, who has joined us. Hello. Don't feel like you need to keep these devices on all the time. There's also a reason why the Kundalini starts to fry your electronic instruments. Both Centaur and I were at the iPhone or the Apple store yesterday because our iPads are starting to go screwy on us. And, it could be a mixture of just the age of the instrument, but also of our Kundalini going in there and saying, okay, enough's enough. Now, as many of you know, we are putting together an intentional community of Kundalini awakened people and people that are activated with Kundalini and the people that want to become activated with Kundalini. We are going into the wilderness with this, and we will not have Wi-Fi there. Not to say that we won't have computer, but we won't have Wi-Fi. It'll probably be hardwired, and the Wi-Fi activity on the computer turned off. There's a little switch on each computer that you can turn off that Wi-Fi signal. Okay. We're going to try to make it as EMF free as possible, simply because of the natural aspects of what the Kundalini wants to do with the body. The electrical connectivity of divinity to the body and the different changes that occur as the body's cells are transformed into divine cells. 1 foot in heaven, 1 foot on earth doesn't necessarily mean we need a cell phone between the two. With what I've been given to do, I've been given to reach into the populations, and the reason, the reach in, in my case, often certainly with what we're doing right now on this radio show, is the use of electronic instrumentation in order to form educational opportunities and infusive events for people that are interested in or already inside of the Kundalini awakening equation. And so this intentional community will serve us not only in that way, but it also gives us a safe harbor. As much as we can have within the United States and the different countries that we'll be doing this in, a safe harbor away from the deleterious effects of EMF, Wi-Fi, and the associated programming that can piggyback and ride those signals into our brains without our knowledge, and don't think it's not happening. Okay? So if you have any questions, or you'd like to make a comment, or you'd like to ask your own question, bring up your own topic, feel free to call in. The number is United States area code 347-934-0026. And Santara, have you had a chance to collect any questions for general knowledge? We have 39 minutes left. Let's fill them up.
39 minutes. Okay, Chrism. Here we go. Okay, so there was I have a few of them for sure. Okay, I started meditation around 2 years back and had beautiful experiences since then. I wanted to know, what are the different methods to open up energy blockages? I normally send my attention to a place where I feel there is a blockage, but I want to speed up the process, and I want to know if there are other methods as well.
Well, of course, it's going to be different for each kind of blockage that a person incurs. The best way to remove a blockage, certainly if it's behavior-based, is to do the reverse of that behavior. So, if you have a blockage in forgiveness, for instance, so if you have a blockage, you just like to hold on to that grudge. You're one of a billion people on this world that you hit me, I'm going to hit you right back, and it's going to be worse. If you're holding on to that kind of anger, if you're holding on to that type of a revenge reflex, and in many cases it's a reflex. You hit me, I hit you. I hit you to stop you from hitting me, which causes you to want to hit me because you just hit me, and therefore I hit you, and you hit me, and therefore it just goes on and on. Stop it. Stop the game. Walk away. Run away. Talk your way out of it. And if you got to fight defensively. And only if you must are you ever offensive in your speech, your attitude, your feelings, or your physical interactions with other people. Those, by the way, are the 5 rules of martial arts. Walk away, or you talk away. You got to talk your way out of it, or you just walk away. And if you can't walk away or talk away, then you run away. If you can't run away, then you're only being defensive. And then if you can't be defensive, run away, walk away, talk away, then you're going to have to be offensive with it. But only to the degree that it needs to be done in order to take yourself out of the scenario. If you have a blockage, against, say, not eating bad foods, so Santara for a while here, she was struggling with, eating toxic foods, and you have to listen to yourself and look at yourself in an honest way. Why am I eating this food that I know is toxic, that I know is difficult for me? And then go the other way with it. Take the action and go the other way. Make it real for yourself. You're not just reading something. Reverse it. Reverse the scenario. If you're being told, say the Kundalini is assigned a teacher to you, and the teacher is saying, okay, you have to surrender this aspect of yourself. And in many cases, the surrendering is going to be quite severe, quite steep, right? So we'll say the Kundalini thing, okay, surrender your life to the Kundalini. Well, what do you do? This was like, well, okay, I'll surrender my life to the Kundalini, and, I will observe that concept, and I will surrender my life, and I'll agree to surrender my life, but what are you doing to surrender your life? How are you changing your life? How has anything changed? What are you doing on a concrete level to change your life and give it to the Kundalini? Because when you say change the life, you can give your life to the Kundalini. Well, when you give your life, what does that mean to you? Or, I'm giving control of my life to the Kundalini, or I'm giving control of my life to my teacher. Well, how does that look? What are you doing to make that a real event, a real and permanent scenario? Are you doing your practice every day? Is that what it means to you? So, okay, I'll do my practice every day. Okay, I'll do my mantra every day. Okay, I will say this. I will do that. That's not a bad thing, but is it real to you? Is it inside your psychology? Is it inside your heart? What weight does your own word carry for yourself? Are you so used to playing the bullshit game with society that bullshit game has reached into your own consciousness and you're no longer able to say something that is true and clear even for yourself? Think about it. How true are you to you? And that in and of itself, that disparity of truth in communication with you and yourself will form a blockage. And so what do? How do you get rid of that blockage? Well, you start being true to yourself. You start having your word matter to you more than what society thinks of your word matters to you. And if your Kundalini is giving you specific instruction, well, then you do it, and there is nothing more important than that. Kundalini rules your life. It controls your life. And it's not like, we're not talking the Civil War here, or prior to the Civil War, but we are talking the Kundalini, the majestic force of God, of divinity, that the Kundalini is taking a firm, strong, controlled position in how you live your life, how you express your life, how you go through your life, and what you think and what you say and what you eat and what you do. That's how you can get rid of a blockage.
Thank you, Chrism. Woo. Right. What happens to our own consciousness and to the Kundalini consciousness when the body dies?
Say again?
What happens to our own consciousness and to the Kundalini consciousness when the body dies?
Well, the Kundalini being a divine consciousness, it helps the consciousness of the individual transform and adjust to that new consciousness. We're just talking about a book, Santara and I, and a doctor has come out with a book about, dealing with entities and the phenomena of entity possession and things of that nature. And he's basically got a school that he's teaching out of Australia that they recognize that entities exist and blah blah blah, and they do certain things to try to demystify the whole entity scenario. Well, with death, with the Kundalini comes with you. What you have gained in a level of understanding, what you have gained within a level of phenomena, what you have gained in a level of wisdom teaching comes with you. And because you're inside of the Kundalini, a very different phenomena happens with you than happens with other people. Okay? The Kundalini will assert itself as the person is dying. And it's the soul of you that is really transformed, that is really given into the Kundalini care and nurturance. And so it is that soul that is going to have the Kundalini carried onto them. It's not going to be so much the person that you wished you had been, or the person that you're afraid of becoming, or these past life people that are also multitudinous within our existence-based model or expression. So, the little you that exists in one time, the senior and aged you that exists on another timeline, all these timelines come together in a human system, and they some of them are basically reality potentials or patterns of probabilities that might come into effect if certain decisions are made, and many of them are already realities that have gone by and that still have a tenuous hold on us now because of the actions that they once were, but there's a string that connects us to that probability that came into being. As the Kundalini person dies, they're exposed to levels of truth that the Kundalini will give to them as far as the death experience allows them to have. So, for instance, if their karma has been met to some degree within the Kundalini, when that person dies, they get a lot more knowledge, they get a lot more understanding, and perhaps less fear because of that knowledge and understanding as they go through the death process. When it's time to reincarnate, or as the person is going through the review of the life, they can, once again, they're being taught how they were, what they were, and was that beneficial to themselves? Was it beneficial to other people? How did other people handle what they did or what they didn't do? What quality of choices and decisions and practices and self-disciplines were maintained? Where did you deny your Kundalini? And how can that be corrected in the next lifetime that's going to have the Kundalini? And it's going to happen, folks. You have the Kundalini awakened in you right now. I'm talking to you, Bruno and Matthew and Elizabeth and Lauren. I'm talking to you folks that I know for a fact have the Kundalini. I'm talking to Centaur right here. You will be born again. But this time you'll be born with Kundalini. And you will have another spinal sweep for that future body. And that platform of divinity will continue to be built upon and within you.
Thank you, Chrism. The next question is, I don't have a strong intention to awaken Kundalini, and I don't really do practices to achieve it. However, I've been feeling energy flowing in my body lately. It feels like shivers, and sometimes I can predict the sensation and control it a bit. I don't really meditate regularly, so I wanted to know why I'm feeling like this.
Well, I mean, there's many different reasons for those types of shivery feelings. You can be tying into a lot of prana. You can be tying into, indeed, you could be tying into the Kundalini, or the Kundalini can be tying into you. And you're most welcome, Bruno Rodriguez. You can be, there are many different ways. Even walking into a discarnate, a ghost, can give a person the shivery feelings. That's none of those symptoms. I'm not going to suggest are actual indicators, or at least strong indicators for Kundalini activation. I would like to see a few more phenomena in addition to the shivers that would allow you to be given a more definitive conclusion as far as Kundalini activity goes. If you're not looking for the Kundalini, and you don't feel a compulsion driving you towards the Kundalini, I will ask you why you're on a Kundalini group. Because with Kundalini, it has that broadcasting of itself nature, and so I think because you're on a Kundalini group, you're partaking of Kundalini energy without even understanding that you may not even be interested in it. Well, I think certain aspects of you are interested in it, or you wouldn't have joined a group that says Kundalini Awakening ! I mean, come on. I mean, there's something to be said for the fact that you're standing amongst Kundalini people, and I don't care that it's an online group. Kundalini doesn't either. I give Shaktipat online, and it is effective. And so, when you tell me that you're not really interested in pursuing Kundalini, well, your actions are contradicting your written words. Okay, And so within that context, I will suggest that maybe there is a certain amount of interest for you as an individual with regards to having the Kundalini, the fact that you're meditating and you're feeling shivery stuff coming up your spine. Well, that could be, as they say here in the West, could be, a portent of things to come for you. But I would suggest that you source yourself first and come into a greater clarity of your own reasons for being in a Kundalini group, and then asking this question.
Thank you, Chrism. So the last question here is there anything that cannot or should not be forgiven?
This, you may not be able to reach forgiveness for all things that are, let's just take child or pedophilia. Let's take the selling of children for sexual objectification and for doing the sexual abuse upon kids. This would be very hard for a person who's experienced it to forgive. Not impossible. The Kundalini can really begin to act as an emollient against having pervasive, horrible grudges against the perpetrators of pedophilia. And yet the Kundalini, being of a divine source, can actually open up that individual as a way of seeing that, this is a karmic consequence for them. And within that karmic consequence, forgiveness can be reached. Within karma, there is really nothing that cannot be forgiven. Within the human capability of having forgiveness given, that is a different story. And some things cannot and will not be forgiven in this lifetime. They will have to go through a series of lifetimes. So, for instance, if you were a soldier and you really got into murdering people, but because it was backed up by the country that you live in and the commander that was giving you the commands to kill so many people, and you just, in order to get through it, you got into it, basically supporting it with all the fervor that you can as a good soldier would. That may take lifetimes for you to be able to forgive yourself. That can take lifetimes, but within the context of lifetimes, we're looking at thousands of years in many ways. There is nothing that is unforgivable. But within the context of a single lifetime, there are many things that can be just too much for the individual psychology to forgive itself for, or to forgive other people for. So,
as a Kundalini person, should one strive? Always strive for,
within a Kundalini context, all can be forgiven. Everything can be forgiven within a Kundalini context. But within the context of the individual, some things are just too harsh, too hard, too difficult. And so, outside of the Kundalini context, yes, it can be too much, too hard, and too harsh. Within a Kundalini context, even with scenarios as difficult as pedophilia or rape or murder or things of that nature. So let's say a soldier, murders these people, but he has Kundalini. Well, he knows that there's going to be a certain karmic payout for that. He knows that because his Kundalini is telling him that. And yet he has the Kundalini, and therefore forgiveness can be reached. And that emollient that Kundalini can be is really, really strong. And it really can clarify what happened, why it happened, who it happened to, why it had to happen to who it happened to. And you can begin to reach into those understandings and begin to form levels and platforms of forgiveness that can be hugely beneficial to the person that has the Kundalini.
Okay, Chrism, thank you. That's it. I have no more questions.
And my gosh, well, we have 20 minutes left here. And let's see, Cole, Cole has asked a question here, and so I'm going to go into Cole. Cole is on the chat group, and I will invite anybody on the chat group right now to ask their questions. Cole Kundalini asks, does the soul carry imprint intuition into the psychology of the next body, i.e. the deep desire to help others, which of the 5 bodies does? Oh, and he asks another question. So I'll answer the first one first. Does the soul carry imprint intuition into the psychology of the next body? Oh, yes, indeed it does. And I can tell you that from my own experience with it. As I came into this world, and from the age of about 2 to 13, I was transported into the Amazon jungle every single night. Every single night. And the psychology, I knew that it was, I knew where it was coming from. I knew what it was. I just didn't know why it was. And I wasn't getting any backup from my parents or my siblings or anybody that I was brave enough to talk about it with. And so, the intuition definitely gets carried into it. Just having intuition doesn't necessarily answer all the psychological questions that new body has. So, the deep desire to help others, yes, I had that. The deep desire to be helpful to the environment, I also had that. And the next question he asks is, in which of the 5 bodies does conscience and morality reside? All 5 bodies are connected to each other. So what happens in the mental body will have an emotional component. What happens in the emotional body will have a physical component. What happens in the physical body will have an emotional, mental, and physical and egotistic a string attached to it. So you don't want to think that you can really separate them all within the moral aspect, because morality is trans body. It has a trans physical or trans modality effect within all 5 bodies. If you're doing something that is amoral, then it's going to affect all 5 bodies of the human system. If you're doing something that is morally conscious and morally agreeable to the morality of the society the person's living in, or within the Kundalini consciousness that the person is operating from, then all 5 bodies will be helped. All 5 bodies will have that tagline within them that actually affects or is affected by the moral or immoral activity or thoughts. And let's see, Cole has activated, awakened, Kundalini aside. You can't, I just answered that within a Kundalini context. And there is no aside. We're talking about the Kundalini here. So Cole, I appreciate the question. It's a good question. But I'm gonna keep the answer as it stands. Okay. Once again, I apologize for people that are getting bumped off. I know that BlogTalk does that sometimes. BlogTalk does that sometimes. Now, I'm going to continue along the lines of some of the things that we've been discussing here, and one of those things is the surrendering of yourself to the control of the Kundalini or to the teacher that it's given to you. This is a huge deal. This is a huge deal because the Kundalini is reaching into you, reaching out to you and out from you. And as that occurs, it begins to take control over your life. And there is no ego-based conscious scenario that can top this, that should top this. The fact that it's being patient with you is great. And that shows the benevolence of the Kundalini. That shows the healing vectors of love and grace and wisdom and patience that the Kundalini has. But I don't want to suggest that you return that favor to the Kundalini. I'm going to suggest you jump right in. You jump right into surrendering yourself to the Kundalini. You surrender yourself to itself. You surrender yourself to itself within the teacher as well. You will know if this is the appropriate thing to do. You will know it. And once you know it, do not hesitate. Do not find a reason to be lazy with it. Do not find a reason to be complacent with it. There is always further and further and further and deeper and deeper and deeper to go. For some of the private students, they know that I'm asking them, "Oh, okay, I'm suggesting I'll give them an exercise. Okay, I want you to go deeper than you've ever gone before." And that's almost every time I Skype with them. I say, "Okay, let's go deeper into this than you ever have gone before." And some of them will take umbrage at that. Some of them will be a little bit offended, and they'll say, "So what? I haven't been. I think I've been doing this. I think I've been going deeper." And I have to tell them there's always further to go. The biggest room in the house is the room for improvement. So the stone is not collecting any moss with me. The stone is always moving. It's always rolling. To some degree, it is always rolling. That moss is not collecting. Okay, and let's see. Cole answers, "I thought you might say that." He says, "Thank you." And you're most welcome, Cole. The stone is always moving. It is always going deeper and deeper and deeper because there is always room to go deeper with it. I want you to become transfixed with Kundalini as well as transformed by Kundalini when it gives you a direction to move into. Don't hesitate. Don't go online and go, "Well, I'm researching. My Kundalini wants me to do this. It wants me to do that." And I go, "Well, what of other people?" No, you go right into it. You do not stop. You do not hesitate. Trust your process. The Kundalini isn't coming to you accidentally. It knows you are ready. And the only part of you that doesn't know that you're ready is your ego. And that is what is stopping you from going forward. You go forward. You put 24/7 degrees of effort into this. You make it the most important thing in your life. It is the most important thing in your life. There is nothing more important than the Kundalini. The way it says for you to go is the way that you need to go, and that is what needs to be acted on now. Not later. Not when you feel more comfortable. Lasha's coming over. She's doing the whole thing. She's coming on over, and she's like, "Oh, yeah." She says, "You're getting a little too energetic here for me." Yes, okay. I'm even surrounded by Kundalini animals. Listen, Kundalini is the most important thing in your life. It is what is going to control your desires. If it's not doing that already, then it will start. You look at Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez and her equation. We've had her on the show. It will commence fear testing upon you. Have a giant spider jump out of a jungle tree and land on your wrist and then sink its fangs into your thumb and see if not the Kundalini is controlling and challenging your complacency in life. Oh, Bruno, you're most welcome. You're most welcome. Really take it to heart. Take it to heart. Don't block yourself because you're afraid of giving authority over your life to something that you're not familiar with. The only part that is not familiar is your ego part. And that part can be trained to come into this and to trust. And Matthew Collins writes, she says, Chrism, in the first year, I had many energetic blocks. At about the 1.5 year mark, the energy released around the back of my head and over the back. Let's see. I'm sorry. Oh, it just shifted on me. The energy released around the back of my head and over the top of the head and into the forehead. That provided much relief. And it shifted again, so I got to backtrack here. Relief. However, I still had many issues until I made attitudinal and behavioral changes. Hearing Chrism talk, lost it again here. Hearing Chrism talk about surrender is one thing, but dealing with the consequences of not surrendering was a greater catalyst for me to surrender. Why is it that some people can hear the teaching and just do it, whereas people like me have to get hammered over the head to comply? Do each of us have a path of awakening of Kundalini, some being more severe than others? If so, why? Absolutely, Matt, and I want to congratulate you for the attitudinal and behavioral changes. Not the easiest thing to go into, because we're dealing with ego blockages here. We're dealing with fear. We're dealing with complacency. We're dealing with what we have used our entire life to make sense out of the world that we live in. And so that's a big deal. You know, when you say attitudinal and behavior changes, that's a huge deal. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. So thank you for being apropos of what I've just been talking about. That's very good. Hearing someone talk about surrender is one thing, but dealing with the consequences of not surrendering is a huge deal. And that can be a catalyst to help a person surrender. Why is it that some people can hear the teaching and just do it, whereas people like me have to get hammered over the head to comply? Well, it's just that, you know, how strong is your will? I mean, Matt, you have a very, very strong will, and I'm dealing with there are other people out there that have very, very, very strong wills, and that will translates into a level of never say die, do not surrender. And we're taught in our life here in the States, never say die, don't surrender, don't roll over. Don't take teachings from anybody. You just learn it from yourself. If you don't learn it from yourself, then it's not worth learning. And so you're hammered over the head every day, every second, every minute, every hour of your life, up to the point of that Kundalini awakening, to never give up. Don't surrender. Don't learn anything that the ego doesn't want you to learn. And so all you're saying, Matt, is that you learned that lesson well. You were able to survive in this environment. I mean, you have the Kundalini. It has you, but now it's time. It's time for you. You had to go through that. You had to get hammered over the head. And other people right now listening to this show are also getting hammered over the head because of the will is so strong. Let's see. Do each of us have a path of Kundalini, some being more severe than others? Absolutely so. The stronger the will, the stronger the hammering can be. And so the stronger the will, the stronger the hammering. The stronger the hammering, the greater the teaching comes into the person. And so in a way, the stronger the will that you have, the greater the lesson must be. But you got to remember that once that lesson is learned, that will force behind it transforms itself into great gifts of the Kundalini. So the Kundalini knows that you have that hard will, but it also knows that once that will is transformed to accept the Kundalini, to come through the Kundalini, that Kunalini person has a greater expressive quality than those that just, that didn't have to earn it so hard. So I'm really happy that you have this quality, and the severity of the quality turns into a severe grace as soon as you're able to comply with the Kundalini. Your great willpower turns into a grace power of phenomenal strength. And we both know that you have this, Matt. And so do many others listening to this. Vashti, Santara, Eileen, Brooke. These people have very, very strong wills. And at the same time, they have very, very strong grace, whether they know it or not yet. Well, thank you, Matt. All right, we're down to 5 minutes. And so really, dovetailing along what Matt has been talking about, this willpower that you have to survive in society, to learn to go out and get that job, to take all of those no's, to work the life the way your karma has allowed you to work it. Karma controls how you look. It controls the health of your body. It controls what you can or can't do in an initial phase of it as a child and as a teenager and as an adult. Karma really, really has its hooks into everything that you do. And so now that the Kundalini has come, now that all of you have this Kundalini quotient within you, well then, yes, indeed, you must begin to comply, as Matt says. You must begin to comply. And it doesn't matter to the Kundalini how strong your ego will is. But what does matter to it is that you do reach a level of compliance and acceptance and love for what the grace has to give you. You reach that level. You initiate the changes that occur that level to exist, that allow that level to exist. You reach into your fears, and you obliterate your fears by opening to your Kundalini. If you've been given a teacher, then there is nothing that teacher gives to you that you cannot do. And the Kundalini will support it. You'll feel that support. If you're being given to do devotion on your knees, then you do that devotion. If you're being given to do the worst things that society, if you're being given to serve that Kundalini in ways that aren't hurtful to other people, number one, and not hurtful to yourself, number two, but is hurtful in a way to your will, the ego will that you've been raised with, that you have enjoyed certain levels of success with. If you are being given to exhibit areas of surrender that your ego goes against, well, then you go against that ego. You don't kill the ego, though. Let's remember that. I'm not talking from a Vedic response here. I'm talking from a Chrism Kundalini response. This comes directly from my Kundalini. This is what I'm surrendering myself in order to give to you. Okay. In fact, she says, give complete surrender to your Kundalini. I could not agree more, my friend. Thank you. Thank you for offering that into this conversation. And I would like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank Matthew Collins. I'd like to thank Bruno Rodriguez, Cole Kundalini, Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, Fashti. I'd like to thank Lauren White and everybody who is not getting bounced on and off. I'd like to thank Brooke and Eileen and Santara for being out here. I'd like to thank Lasha for not scratching me while I'm doing this show. She's crossed over a couple of times, so it's gone well. I would like to let people know that you can reach more of this information on Kundalini Awakening Systems, one.com. You can also reach it on chrismkundalini.com. You can also 90 seconds. You can also reach it on the YouTube network, chrism.kundalini on YouTube. You can go onto Facebook. We have various groups there. Kundalini Awakening ! Kundalini Awakening Systems 2, Kundalini Awakening Systems 3, Kundalini Healing. I have a private group there, and you can go ahead and feel free to 60 seconds private message me on the Facebook network there. I'm at Chris Mitchell or Chrism Kundalini. Either way, it's that guy in the orange shirt with a beard. I want you to know that we have Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 on the Yahoo network, and we also have Kundalini Healing on the Yahoo network. We also have Kundalini Healing on the Google Plus network as well. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Mary Jean, thank you. Everybody, thank you for listening, and I look forward to talking with you next week. Bye-bye.